I honestly believe that this is one of the best 4-season, one-person tents that you can buy. So the first area where I think this tent is ahead of the competition is in its strength to weight to space ratio. So for example, I have had this tent out in 40-mile-an-hour winds, and it measured 40-mile-an-hour winds, and it barely doesn't move. The forecast here on Luke's Mountain for tomorrow morning is 50-mile-an-hour winds. Now if that happens, you're going to see it. If it doesn't happen, you won't see it. So the tent is really, really strong. The weight is 2.0 kilograms. And for the size and strength of this tent, that is absolutely a fantastic weight. And the space, it's a small 2-person tent, but you know what? For one, it is brilliant, and that's why I think it's such a good 1-person tent. So next up would be the attention to detail that Fjallraven put into this tent. You've got a drying line in the tent. Nothing special, but you know what? You've actually got 2 attachments on either side at the front and also at the back of the tent, where you can add in 2 more drying lines, or actually you can buy like a gear loft, you know, for this, so you can kind of store more items if you need to. Now let's go outside the tent that we see some more of that attention to detail. You have, instead of just having 1 tie back for the door, you actually have 2, and we'll have a wee bit of a look at that. So 2 door tie backs. So the next attention to detail would be the guy lines. These guy lines have a breaking strain of 160 kilograms. They are also reflective, so a nice little touch. So next attention to detail, you know, then we talked about, you know, the reflective guy lines would now be the pole colors. All right, so the poles on this tent are actually of different diameter. The front one is 9.6 millimeter and the rear pole is 9, and the pole sleeves are color coded. But instead of just having a pole that has a bit of tape wrapped around it to sort of designate a longer or shorter or thicker pole, these poles are actually coloured the same colour as the marker there on the pole sleeve. Lastly, on the attention to detail, this here's a nice heavy duty nylon which the pole goes into. It's like a pocket, and then you can see here there's even a little sort of eyelet to let the water run out, and this is further reinforced in on the bottom here. And again, reflective guy line type material on the pegs and the actual holder for the tent itself. So the next area which I think this tent is absolutely fantastic is in ventilation. So now you're looking at the ventilation at the front of the tent, and this really sucks up a lot of air. And we'll go around the back of the tent. Lovely bit of mist down, and this is what happens when you're out filming in real world conditions. So again at the back, you know, this is a fabulous vent. And not only have you got this vent, but above the vent here, you've actually got 2 little tabs. So you can roll the whole fly sheet up at the back for the summer or any time when you want to really sort of ventilate and get lots of air. So I think that this is another amazing feature in a 4-season tent. So now I'm on to like tent design as another area that I feel this tent really excels. So it's a 2-pole tunnel, and I'll pick up the camera in a moment and let you see a bit more regarding the shape. But some of the unique features is that at the rear of the tent, you've got a shorter pole which lowers the tent down, and that really helps with aerodynamics and saving weight. It's not the only tent to do that, of course, but at the rear you have a 9mm pole, and at the front you have a 9.6mm pole, and that I think is quite unique, and certainly in the tents that I've come across. You know, you have a thicker pole at the front, which makes it actually stronger because that's a bigger pole, and the thicker pole makes it more wind resistant. Now, also regarding tent design, you have a thinner fabric on the main body of the tent and a thicker fabric on the bottom. You know, so all of the anchor points, for example, all go into the thicker fabric, which make it really, really strong. And also being thicker at the bottom helps with abrasion from the ground. So also with this tent, you've got a sort of middle pull-out point, and this actually really helps with the separation on the outer and the inner, you know, particularly in high winds. So the last area where I think this tent really excels actually is in value for money. I think it's at a really, really good price point for what you get. You know, there's really, really good materials, really good quality, really good construction, really good attention to detail, and I think it offers really good value for money. Particularly, there are also bargains to be had in this tent if you sort of get it at the right time, and you can get it for a really, really good price, and that's always a bonus. So thank you for watching. If you like my content, please subscribe to the channel. Give it a like as well. It really, really helps me out. And drop me a comment, you know, in the comments box regarding, you know, what you think of the video, and it just gives me some feedback. Next up, video wise, will probably be actually pitching this tent, excuse the pun, but I'm going to put it up against my Hillyberg Act 2 and my Hillyberg match, and I can tell you now, you know, that'll be a really interesting comparison. So until then. So I bet you thought this video was over. Well, it's not over quite yet. I've just been out and measured the wind speed. I love doing that. 34 miles per hour. I mean, you can see inside the tent, it's giving you an indication of what's actually happening. So I mean, there's a bit of flapping, but it's quite minimal. And obviously the pole structure at the front and back of the tent is completely holding out. Tough enough to sleep, mind you, just due to the noise, but that's really all. The tent's doing really, really great. So I'll give you an update later on in the morning once it gets daylight. Okay, good morning. This should be a good test for my audio. As I always would say, welcome to Luke's Mountain. Just measured the wind, I think 39.8, I think. 39.5. So really delivering, and the tent is doing fantastic. So this is what's happening on the inside. Very, very stable. You know, yeah, of course it's flapping and of course it's noisy, but I mean all tents are. And I'll show you some of the shots outside now. You can kind of see the back of the tent, you know, really, really stable. And, you know, it's well guided out, well secured, and it's not really going anywhere, and performing absolutely flawlessly. So that is it. That's really it. I am definitely not going to film anymore. I am going to get packed away, get a quick brew, and get out of here. 2-3 hours sleep last night at the most. But that's just what happens. I can't believe the weather forecast did a real dirty on me. It changed like last minute. I come up here and it was forecast for like 15 to 18 mile an hour gusts, and then when I checked my phone just before I stuck the tent up, it had changed to like 50 miles an hour gusts in the space of a couple of hours. But that's just what happens. At least I was well enough prepared for it. I mean, that's a big gust there. I mean, that's a lot bigger than anything that I was measuring, you know, so I'm sure that's 50 mile an hour, but you know, the tents took it absolutely fine. Right, so definitely until next time, thank you for watching, see you later.